You know, usually when we talk about a locked room mystery, we're referencing someone like Agatha Christie, or maybe an old episode of Sherlock.
Right. It's a trope, a logic game. It's designed to be solved.
But the case we're diving into today, this isn't a game. We're looking at the Arthur Vance case. And I have to say, going through these court transcripts and the leaked investigative notes, this feels less like a murder trial and more like a glitch in reality.
That's a perfect way to put it, because this story, at its heart, it isn't really about a murder. I mean, yes, there's a body, or at least we think there's a body.
We'll get to that.
We will. But the real mechanism here is about the nature of truth itself.
And how easily it can be, well, manufactured.
Exactly. So for everyone listening, we're talking about the death of tech titan Arthur Vance. He's found dead inside his inner sanctum.
And this wasn't just a home theater. This was, what, a panic room disguised as a cinema.
More than that, it was a fortress. Lead-lined, soundproofed, and sealed with biometric locks that were supposed to be, completely foolproof. And yet, inside that fortress, Arthur Vance is found dead. And his wife, Elena, is there with him, standing in a white silk robe that is just drenched in blood.
And the room was locked from the inside. The digital logs, which we have in the source material, they say no one entered and no one left. It's a physical impossibility.
And that impossibility is our entry point. Because to understand this, you have to look at three very specific people who kind of broke the world a little bit. The victim, the widow, and the lawyer.
Okay, so let's set the scene. It's the night of the incident. The head of security, Marcus Sterling, he can't get a response from Arthur.
So he overrides the door, he walks in, and it's a scene straight out of film noir.
Which is funny because
the movie Double Indemnity is literally playing on the screen, on a loop.
Wow. A little on the nose.
Very. Arthur Vance is slumped in his chair. He has a shard of Baccarat crystal from a whiskey tumbler in his neck, severed the carotid artery. It was incredibly messy.
And Elena.
She's just standing there, not screaming, not crying, just looking at him.
And the sensors. The biometrics. This is the core of the locked room problem.
The inner sanctum was an air-gapped system, not connected to the main network, so it couldn't be hacked. The logs confirmed it. Arthur locked the door at 8 p.m. No other biometrics were read until security overrode the system 2 hours later.
Physics says they were the only two people in that room.
Physics does.
Okay, so that's the what. To understand the how, we have to get into the who. Let's start with Elena Vance, the widow.
In the tabloids, she was painted as this elegant, grieving socialite. But the background checks in our source material, they paint a very different picture.
Different is putting it mildly.
The sources call her the forger. She was born Elena Sokoloff in Brighton Beach. Her mother was a seamstress who made knockoff designer dresses.
So from a young age, she was seeing the stitching on the inside of the lie.
Precisely. She learned that value is just a story you tell. She became an art conservator. And think about what that job is. You take something damaged and you fill in the gaps so perfectly that no one can see the repair.
You fix reality.
You curate it. She sanded down her accent, changed her name, and became an art consultant. That's how she met Arthur. She didn't just marry him, she became his interface with the world. She filtered everything for him.
Which brings us to Arthur Vance, the ghost in the machine. This guy is fascinating. He's not your typical tech CEO. He's a recluse.
A deeply paranoid recluse. Arthur built the Oracle. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, the Oracle isn't just a stock-picking algorithm. It's something else. It predicts global markets by tracking physical data.
What does that mean, physical data?
So most algorithms track numbers, right? Stock prices, trading volume. The Oracle watches the world. It uses satellite imagery to count cargo ships leaving Shanghai. It measures the heat from factory lights in Germany at 2 in the morning to predict production output.
That's terrifyingly brilliant. It knows the economy is crashing before the banks do.
Exactly, and it broke him. He became convinced the Oracle was whispering back to him, that rivals were trying to steal it. That's why he built the inner sanctum. He wanted a place with zero signal.
So you've got this paranoid genius and a wife who specializes in creating false realities. And then you add the final piece of the puzzle, the lawyer, Julian Vane.
Julian Vane, nicknamed the acquittal architect. He's the guy you hire when you're guilty as sin but have enough money to make a jury forget it.
But here's the crazy part. Julian Vane hated Arthur Vance.
Hated him. 7 years before this, Arthur publicly humiliated Julian in a whistleblower case. Destroyed his reputation for a while. There was deep personal animosity there.
So Elena, facing a murder charge for killing her husband, hires the one guy who who would love to see Arthur's legacy burned to the ground.
That was the genius of it. She knew Julian's grudge would blind him. He'd be more focused on winning against Arthur's memory than he would be on, objective truth.
And the payment. We have to talk about the payment, because it just sets the tone for everything.
Right. She didn't write a check.
No.
She paid his retainer with a briefcase full of Swiss gold bars.
Gold bars. That's not a retainer. That's a signal.
It's a signal. It says, we are operating off the books. I am not buying a defense. I am buying a result.
So Julian's in. He's got the gold. He's got the grudge. But he has one massive problem. The prosecution.
Yeah.
And it's led by Dana Sterling, who also happens to be his ex-wife.
And Dana is good. Very good. Her case is built on hard science. She has the sealed room, the logs, but her smoking gun was the blood spatter.
Let's break that down. What did the blood tell them?
Okay, so on Elena's white silk robe, the blood was concentrated on the underside of her right forearm.
The underside.
Yes. Dana's experts argued that if you're cradling a dying person, as Elena claimed, the blood goes on your chest, on the tops of your arms. Blood on the underside of the forearm is consistent with one thing.
A downward striking motion.
The mechanics of the stab. You can't cross-examine physics.
So Julian knows he can't win on the facts. He loses that fight every time. So what does he do?
He pivots. Brilliantly, I might add. He decides if he can't attack the facts, he'll attack the context.
Oh.
He introduces this concept of the analog whole.
I love that phrase. What does it mean?
We trust our digital world, right? Logs, timestamps, biometrics. The analog whole is the physical weakness in that system. Julian finds an old servant's passage in the estate blueprints. A simple corridor with a manual wooden latch.
No sensor.
No sensor. No digital footprint. It's invisible to the system. Julian argues a professional assassin used this analog door to slip into the digital fortress.
But wait, wouldn't the sensors inside the room still pick up a third person? Motion detectors, heartbeat sensors, something.
And that's part 2 of his strategy. He argues that the target wasn't Arthur, it was the Oracle. He says foreign rivals hacked the inner sanctum's internal sensors just long enough to get in, kill Arthur, and slip out.
He's changing the genre of the story.
Perfectly put. He's telling the jury, this isn't a domestic dispute. This is corporate espionage. Elena isn't a killer. She's the widow of a man assassinated for an algorithm that controls the world.
And juries. They love a good conspiracy.
It's way more exciting. It introduces reasonable doubt by just blowing up the scope of the whole thing.
So Julian is winning the narrative. But then, the case takes a turn that I genuinely did not see coming. This is the real turning point. It involves the medical examiner, Dr. Thorne.
Right. So the trial's underway. Dr. Thorne is reviewing the final post-mortem scans of Arthur Vance, and he sees something on the C5 vertebra. Just a tiny glimmer on the X-ray.
What is it?
A titanium surgical pin. The kind they use to fuse vertebrae after a bad fracture.
Okay. Lots of people have surgery. Why is that a bombshell?
Because Arthur Vance didn't. His medical records were perfect. He was a hypochondriac. Every sneeze was documented. He never broke his neck, never had spinal surgery, ever.
So, if Arthur Vance doesn't have a pin in his neck...
But the body in the morgue does?
Then the body in the morgue isn't Arthur Vance.
The floor just drops out. Julian Vane is looking at this report. He realizes his client didn't just kill her husband. She killed someone else.
A body double.
A body double. A man named Leo Rossi. A stuntman, a drifter. Elena had found him and used her conservation skills, surgery, diet, coaching, to turn him into a perfect copy of her husband.
This changes everything for Julian. He's an officer of the court. He now knows a massive fraud is being committed.
It's his moral event horizon. He can do one of 2 things. 1, he reveals the truth, tells the court that's not Arthur. He loses the case, he loses the gold, and his client goes to prison for life.
Or option B.
He buries it. He becomes a co-conspirator.
And this is where we see the real Julian Vane. He doesn't just ignore it. He actively suppresses the evidence.
He goes after Dr. Thorne. He threatens him, bribes him, plays every dirty trick in the book. He forces the medical examiner to reclassify the pin as a glitch, an artifact in the scan.
He chooses to authenticate the forgery.
That phrase from the source material is it's perfect. He's not just offending a person anymore. He's validating a lie and making it legally true.
And it works. The jury never hears about the pin. They buy the corporate espionage story. The verdict comes back. Not guilty.
Elena walks. Julian is a hero. The acquittal architect does it again.
But the celebration doesn't last long, does it?
Not for him. Julian is back at the Vance estate after the trial. He's probably feeling on top of the world. He's looking over the crime scene photos again, maybe just admiring his work.
And he sees something.
Something tiny. On a table next to where the body was, there's a bowl of fruit. Green apples.
Green apples. So what?
The real Arthur Vance had a sensory processing disorder. He hated the smell of green apples, said they smelled like chemical cleaner. He banned them from the entire estate.
He would never have had them in his favorite room.
Never. It was a prop, a set dressing mistake. Elena, the curator, was setting the stage for the murder, and she just grabbed a bowl of apples for color. It was the one tiny crack in her forgery.
And that unravels everything for Julian.
Yeah.
He realizes this wasn't just Elena's plan.
Yeah.
Where was the real Arthur when the set was being dressed?
He digs. He pressures the head of security, gets access to a hidden server, and he finds it. The security footage from inside the room, the footage that was supposedly wiped by hackers.
And he watches the murder.
He watches it. He sees Elena. He sees the double, Leo Rossi. And here is the truly heartbreaking part. Leo isn't fighting her.
He's just sitting there.
He has this look of what the sources call devotion. He was in love with her. She rescued him from nothing, gave him a life, and she used that love to get close enough to kill him.
That is cold on a level I can barely process.
It's sociopathic.
Yeah.
But then comes the final twist, the one that actually made my jaw drop. Julian confronts her. He thinks he's got it all figured out, right? She killed the double to get the inheritance.
It was bigger than that.
So much bigger. This was about escape. Julian finds a link to a live satellite feed on Arthur's private server. It's a villa in Oaxaca, Mexico.
And there he is.
Arthur Vance, the real Arthur Vance, alive, tan, sitting by a pool watching the news of his own murder trial verdict on a tablet.
He's watching the trial.
He raises a glass, he toasts the screen, he's toasting Julian.
So, Arthur wasn't the victim, he was the architect of the whole thing.
He wanted out. He was terrified of the oracle, of the world he'd built. He wanted to disappear. So he and Elena planned his death. They needed a body to make it legal.
So the murder wasn't a crime.
To them, it was a system update. They used Leo as the raw material, and they used Julian to give it the legal stamp of approval.
So Arthur is free in Mexico. Elena's running the company. They both win.
And Julian is the only one who loses.
How does he lose? He won. He's rich.
He's trapped. He can't ever talk. He's suppressed evidence. He suborned perjury. If he ever tries to expose them, they just have to reveal how he rigged the trial.
Mutually assured destruction.
He's the ghost in the machine now. Wealthy, successful, and completely owned by the secret he keeps.
Wow. Okay, let's just step back for a second. Why does this story matter? Beyond being a wild ride, what's the takeaway here?
I think it forces you to confront a really uncomfortable truth about our digital age. We assume that if something is documented, a death certificate, a court verdict, then it's real.
The record shows what the record shows.
But this case proves that documentation is just another story. Elena proved that you can forge reality itself if you're precise enough. Truth isn't what happened, it's what the system accepts as having happened.
Even if he's drinking margaritas in Oaxaca.
For all legal and financial purposes, he's dead. The story overwrote the fact.
And that brings us back to the analog whole. The most advanced digital fortress in the world was beaten by, what? A piece of wood? A shard of glass?
A human lie.
And human arrogance. Julian wanted to beat Arthur so badly he never stopped to ask if he was being played. His own ego was the vulnerability they exploited.
It's a heck of a story. From the impossible room to the titanium pin to the green apples.
It really is a chilling reminder.
Well, that's all the time we have for this deep dive. We've gone from a locked room mystery to a philosophical question about the nature of reality itself.
And they left Julian Vane holding the bag. Or, I guess, the briefcase.
A very heavy burden.
Yeah.
So as you go about your day, maybe take a second look at the things you think are impossible. And definitely watch out for green apples where they don't belong. And ask yourself this. If the law, the records, and the public all agree on a lie, does it effectively become the truth? And who else might be a ghost in the system watching from a distance while we all fight over shadows?
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you next time.